This episode of the 4 Mile Circus was our first attempt at a Skype interview for the show. Because of that, you may notice a few minor audio artifacts throughout the episode. We're working on solving those problems for future Skype interviews. Now, on with the show. Welcome to the 4 Mile Circus. 4 Mile Circus is a media services company in Brooklyn, New York. My name is Sean Mannion, and I am joined by my business partner, Nicole Solomon.
Hi. Was it not my turn to say hi?
I suppose it was. I suppose that was appropriate. This show is about, we talk to like artists and like cool people, like musicians. Musicians are cool. I've been told this. And filmmakers. We're filmmakers. And we talk to them about how they make stuff and what they do with that stuff and how they get other people to watch and listen to their stuff.
And who are we talking to today?
Oh, man. Who did we talk to last time?
I don't know. You tell me, Sean.
Was it Hannah Neurotica?
Might have been.
And she makes zines. That's what I remember.
Wait, what's that voice? Could that be her? Is that Hannah Neurotica herself?
She's here. Well, she's not here. She's on Skype.
No, that's Sean. It's Sean. It's Sean.
That's right. It's Sean.
I'm doing everybody's voices.
Yes. For listeners just tuning in, it's actually the Sean Show, where he does everybody's interview part. But so we're talking to Hannah Neurotica. We're talking to Sean pretending to be Hannah Neurotica. Hannah Neurotica, creator of Women in Horror Month, Axe Wound Zine, the Axe Wound Film Festival, number of other projects, including, writing and directing some stuff herself, which I am excited to hear about. And in the last part of our interview, we talked to her about those projects. And this one, we're going to talk to her a bit about promoting those projects via social media. But first, I wanted to ask Hannah, you write and direct things yourself a bit. I believe you did a short film called Letting, which I have not yet seen, although I would like to.
Really? It's online. It's like 3 minutes. I'll send you the link.
Oh, please do. I didn't know it was available online. Yes. Okay. Great.
Yeah, I always actually filmmaking. I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was little, and it's like I was always too scared and intimidated to really take on the technical aspect of it. And I never felt like I really had people that I was comfortable working with. So it's kind of just like this fantasy thing. But then I started to actually make some stuff like Letting. I did. Letting was actually part of the Saska's Blood Drive PSA, which for people that are listening don't know, every year they do for Women in Horror Month, they put out a Blood Drive PSA, which is, a collection of shorts by other filmmakers and stuff like that. So the assignment that year was you could do a 3-minute short, and it had to have blood coming from something that blood doesn't usually come from. And so I created Letting as a segment for that, but then an extended version that I used, that's kind of not used, but it was a standalone kind of a thing, and submitted to festivals. It definitely, I have yet to make a short film that I feel like 100% is mine film. And I think that's going to happen this summer. So I'm really excited because I the other one I did, I directed it, but it was kind of, based around this assignment and, it wasn't like, this is a story I want to tell, So I have been writing a lot, and there's a lot of stories I do want to tell, but it's just this weird anxiety thing that's kept me. So now that I actually have this plan in motion, I do have a film I'm working on right now called EFEMRX. At least that's the working title. And I'm not allowed to say what it's for, but it is going to be part of a larger project, but doesn't have those same kind of guideline things. So, and it's a feminist dystopian drama horror kind of a story, very much pertaining to our current political system, and how it could affect women. And it sort of takes us there in this sort of horror as, I hate saying dystopian because it's kind of, we live in a dystopian time.
Oh, I hear that. Sean and I were just talking about that the other day, basically.
So I guess it's more dystopian than our current reality, you could say.
So it's basically just a cinder in space. Is that basically the concept? Just more dystopian. I'm trying to imagine it right now.
Yeah, no, I know. It's kind of hard, isn't it? Let's just say it's yeah. I mean, it's hard these days because everything feels like, oh, that couldn't happen. Well, yeah, it can. It's like it's kind of hard to come up with things these days where it's like that just couldn't happen, because it doesn't feel that way anymore. So, in a sense, I don't want to give it away, but it deals with women's health and what some fears are around women's health with our current administration.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And so I'm really, 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 I have to say, I felt so disgusting when I wrote it, which is why I know that it has to resonate somehow with people, because I have never felt so disgusting writing something. It's like, oh God, do I have to work on this? Okay, I have to. It's for a greater good, but this story is so disgusting. So I really hope people get that, and it wasn't all for nothing that I fucking disgusted the shit out of myself.
I mean, that's how it is. The stuff you most need to say and put out there is often the stuff that's the most difficult, because it's just upsetting to go there. But then, it means you're going there, so good for you, because it's not always a fun thing to do.
There is no joy in this film. It is a very serious, dark film, and for me, I usually like to try to have something that in my stories that could be somewhat redeeming, I guess. But to me, this particular piece just sort of stands as it is, and I will stop talking about it because obviously I'm being really vague. But I'm shooting it this summer. It's been cast. I'm working with all women, and I have a woman shooting it, all women actors. I think I have one guy who's working on it, but that's okay.
That feels like a betrayal. I'm just saying. One guy.
We needed somebody to pick stuff up that was heavy.
Okay, fair. That's fair. Although honestly, most of the women I work with on set pick up
Just
heavier
kidding.
stuff
I'm
than me because
totally
I'm
kidding.
But
I'm totally
No, we know. That came across. Do not fear. So what are you gonna do with that? Are you gonna bring it to the festival circuit? Or are you gonna just put it up online? Do you know what your plans are once it's completed?
So, I will share this off the record later, but for this podcast's sake, it's part of a larger project. And once that project has been announced and is completed and shared with the world, I can then take this and do what I want with it. So I will, at that point, depending on how it comes out, submit it to festivals. I really, really, really don't know if it will be a film that people watch and say, oh my God, that's fucked, or they'll watch and say, what the hell, I don't get it, So that's the hard part, and I don't know how much of it's going to come across that I want. So depending on how it comes out and if the message is clear, then I'll kind of know what I want to do with it. But my main goal is to make a film because it's what I want to do most right now and what I'm scared of most and what I feel I need to do. So that's my goal. And if it comes out shitty, that's okay.
That's a good attitude to have.
That's an excellent attitude. I was going to say that if people don't get it, that's fine. You should embrace people not getting it. And then pretend like that's part of it. If it's not part of it, maybe it is part of it. Maybe that's your plan. But that's what I do with a lot of my short films that don't make any sense to anybody, including myself. I'm just like, well, what do you think it means? And then they tell me, and I'm like, good. That's a good answer. I'm going to take that.
Well, I want it to be, and that's fair. But I do want it to be enjoyable, where people are not feel like they were cheated at the end, what happened, So,
sure.
But anyway, I think it might work. We'll see.
I'm sure it'll work. It's it's a tough balance to do, but it's also you can't make a film for everybody. There's always going to be people who don't get your film. You could make the most obvious stupid film in the world, and there would be some idiot who's just like, I don't get it, and it's your fault. It's not because I wasn't paying attention or anything. It's because you're supposed to spoon feed me everything. I hold my hand.
I wish you would stop using me as an example.
Yes, this is what Sean says whenever I make a film. But so do you have, to kind of bring it into social media, which I want to talk to you about a bit, do you have any like social media plans for this film? Are you planning to like do like, are you going to give us some like behind the scenes on like Instagram stories or anything like that? Or
I really, really, really want to document the process as much as I can because I don't know what I'm doing, and I think that could be useful for other people. So it's like, okay, I learned this today, and this is what we're doing without giving stuff away. But yeah, I'm gonna have posts, some behind the scenes video is gonna be taken during production. I'll start teasing, the actors and some of those little things. And there's some, without giving the story away, there's something in the film that is kind of like a focal point object, and I'm gonna have it, if I have enough money laying around. Yeah, right. I'm gonna make some like fake versions as like a swag thing of that thing.
sweet.
So I have lots of marketing ideas. That's something I like never tire. I can just come up with ideas like this. It's just a matter of, which ones stick and do I follow through on and make the most sense at the time. So because the film is going to be really not a pleasant experience, I want to make sure to promote it in a way that there's some social activism involved in, here, support this organization, who deals with women's health or this or that, just to kind of show that there's like this purpose behind this dark story.
Yeah, and then it gives people something to do with their like if they have like negative energy, from like watching the film and they're feeling like freaked out and stuff, like to be able to channel that emotion in a positive way, I think is great.
Yeah, and I think just to go back real quick, I was thinking too is like, one of the biggest challenges with telling a story, obviously, when you're a filmmaker, is not if you have money, like that's going to impact what you write. So as I'm writing the script, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's going to cost too much to shoot. And even things that seem so simple, I realize won't be. And then it's like, okay, so how do I tell this story with this visual that's going to be something I can afford? And I think that that's where you really have to just get so creative in your storytelling.
Totally.
But yeah, so social media, I definitely will be, as soon as I am starting to shoot and have everything set, I'm gonna definitely start teasing it, and I'm really, really excited.
Well, that makes two of us. I would say three of us, but Sean doesn't get easily excited.
That's the thing I'm working on with my therapist.
Yeah. So maybe this film will help him and his therapist with that. We talked about this a little bit on the previous episode, but so which social media platforms are you on, and what do you use the different ones you're on for? Do you use them in different ways?
I've I've always been super into it. Like as we talked in the last episode about Live Journal, it's like I've always been sort of in this world online. But recently, in the past year or so, I've really started having just panic attacks every time I sign on to Facebook specifically. And so I've had to work through that because you can't really promote people's work when you're not signing online. So Facebook is something that I definitely am struggling more with, but Instagram, I love. I'm always on Instagram, and I love creating these like silly Snapchatty like VR like augmented reality little mini snippet videos.
You did a really cool that like jellyfish one you did the other day.
Yeah.
That looked really fucking cool. Yeah, listeners at home, like go to Hannah Neurotica's Instagram account, because it's just Hannah Neurotica, right? On Instagram?
Yeah, it's just Hannah Neurotica.
Cuz she's been doing these really really cool like augmented reality like animated video things that are really just
And not to take credit, though. I don't want to take credit. I didn't create the augmented reality. I just took what was there and put it on top of my own footage. So like the octopus I didn't create. That was like a Snapchat created image.
But it's just the like sum total of the finished product that like looks cool. Like I don't care how the sausage is made. I just am like, okay, you made the sausage, so like I'm enjoying this sausage. Like I could tell that you were using like tools that you hadn't built yourself, basically. Right. Yeah.
And that actually has made me really, really, really want to actually learn to create augmented reality, because I think that that is something in my future that's going to be in my, I think my art personally, and is going to be, there's a lot of augmented reality. I'll just say this on your show. How about this? I'm writing, which I have not ever said publicly. I'm working on a little augmented reality series that there is absolutely nothing behind it, just me writing it, no plans on how it's going to get made yet. But it's basically, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the images I post of sea creatures that I create.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's sort of an augmented virtual reality series based, that's sort of a claymation-y kind of thing based on those creatures, but also with a theme of um, positivity, because I feel like right now people need some positivity in their life. And so it has to do with these creatures that are in search of positive news stories, and you sort of help them find them in this game. And it's
Oh wow.
yeah, so I never publicly talked about it until now. So it's something I really, really, really hope to be able to get off the ground after I've, sketched all of the things and maybe, turn it into a stop motion.
That sounds like it combines a bunch of my favorite things.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. I thought you were gonna. I thought it was gonna turn out to be like some sort of like horror thing at first when you first started talking about it, just because of everything else we've been talking about. So my brain started spinning on like, it would be so cool if I could turn like my apartment into a haunted house with an app. But your thing actually sounds like more healthy and better.
You know what, Sean? You totally can do that already, though.
Is that already a thing?
Download augmented reality apps. They'll make it look like there's like zombies in your fucking room and shit.
Okay. Yeah. But I guess I was more excited about you doing it.
Oh well, me too.
But your thing, like legit, that sounds super fun. Like I'm doing that thing where I don't sound excited when I'm excited again, aren't I?
You never sound excited.
I know.
Sean.
I just feel like it sounds like I'm being disingenuous, but
no, I get it. There is a monster in it, but it's kind of like more funny than scary.
Is it a fun monster?
We like fun monsters.
Yeah.
Like in Monsters, Inc.
It's kind of like a monster that like, the concept is sort of has this Arabian Nights kind of thing where it's like keeping the monster at bay long enough to till the next episode, kind of.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah. So that's something this year I hope to start being able to really talk about, because I feel really strong about that project, and I'm excited just thinking about it.
It sounds really exciting. It sounds awesome. I'm excited about it as well. To go back to social media, even though I no, don't be sorry. I kind of want to just keep talking to you about augmented reality. Augmented reality is part of it. You're correct. So like you were saying, you're not. I was going to. I can't get a sentence out. I was going to ask you about like your favorite and least favorite platforms and why. You kind of started to answer that. You're super into Instagram.
My least favorite currently is Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's also probably the most one I need to be using the most. I mean, the thing is I feel happier when I'm not on Facebook. But yeah, it's like it's the quickest way to make me feel shitty. And so I try to use it for Women in Horror Month and the Axeman Film Festival, but sometimes that's really tough because it's like I still have to sign in. But Hootsuite and stuff, good for that kind of thing. But I really love Snapchat. I love fucking Snapchat, and nobody's on there that's like, that I know really.
Sean and I have friends on there who are people send me snaps and I don't check them because I haven't been checking my Snapchat. But
I'm on there and I turned my notifications on, so when people send them to me, because at least one of our friends occasionally sends them to like her list when something funny happens. So.
Oh, so then I need to add you guys. Just
we're both there. I mean, I'm not actually there, but I have an account there, and in theory, I should be using it. You're probably Uncle Sean on there, right?
I assume so, but I'm never sure. How do I get to it?
Well, I'm going to add you because then I'll feel like I have more friends even if you're not there. I'll have more than 2 people on my list.
Add us. I'm pretty sure I'm Nicole Whitty on Snapchat.
Yeah, I'm Uncle.Sean.
Uncle.Sean. Interesting.
Uncle.Sean. I think regular Uncle Sean was on there. Just like all these people have an Uncle Sean, and they tag me on Twitter and Instagram, not even thinking that I'm their Uncle Sean, but just they assume that their Uncle Sean is Uncle Sean on social media. Like that's a thing. Like that's how self-centered they are. Is that their Uncle Sean must be the Uncle Sean?
The universal.
Yeah, all my nieces and nephews are older than me, except for like one. So.
I always think it just says unclean Sean.
That too.
I've got that. I've also got Unclesian. Somebody was like, I thought it was Unclesian, and then I just got it was Uncle Sean when I called you, and I was like, okay, I've never heard that one, but unclean comes up a lot. It also
Good, I'm not alone on that one.
No, that's not just you. And it's not just you on the Facebook thing either. I mean, Facebook stresses me out. Sean here actually, post-election kind of went dark on Facebook for a bit, and I was, manning the 4 Mile Circus ship for a second. Although now mostly both of us kind of avoid Facebook, even though we really shouldn't.
I'm trying to use it only for, frivolous things on my personal side. Our business stuff I'm still updating, but on my personal side I'm kind of only using it for frivolous things in order to be less stressful. So I think I said something about beer the other day.
Yeah. It's not, I don't think, the most mentally healthy thing to, I mean, I don't know. I just know that I feel better when I'm not on it all the time, but I don't really use Twitter as much. And the thing is, I know Ashley Blackwell, who does Graveyard Shift Sisters, is always yelling at me about not being on Twitter enough. But I think I'm really just comfortable on Instagram in this way that's that's where I feel like I'm in my element, because I don't have to really, there's not as much pressure, which is funny because everyone seems to have issues with Instagram and pressure and feeling like their life isn't beautiful enough and this and that. That's one thing I've never felt, at least, which I'm glad for. But social media marketing is something I was super into for a while, and actually almost went to graduate school to study. And then I was like, my anxiety just kicked in, and it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I truly do underneath that love social media marketing, because it is about telling stories and about bringing community together. And Women in Horror Month, wouldn't exist without social media.
Yeah, social media is kind of the fabric of the fabric of the thing. Wow. Look at me and my words.
And it's the thing of the tapestry.
Yeah.
And the threads come together for stuff.
You can't avoid it,
I mean, Ashley's okay. First of all, Ashley is fabulous on Twitter. She is one of the best Twitter users I know, and thank God she's on Twitter. She's one of my favorite people on Twitter and off Twitter as well. And she uses it really well. She, her content is good. She engages in conversation with people. She's really good at signal boosting stuff and, jumping into conversations in a very real way that's not there are some people who are very spammy on Twitter who will jump into conversations in a way that doesn't make sense and, in an effort to try to promote their brand or whatever. And Ashley is a good example of somebody who does it right. And so I would always say, everybody should listen to whatever she has to say about Twitter. But by the same token, like a thing Sean and I have been preaching to people a lot recently about social media is like there are all sorts of best practices. There are all sorts of things that will work for most people if you apply them and things like that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you kind of have to do what works for you sustainably. And what that looks like is going to be different for different people. And that's just how it is. Like, I have lots of friends who are like, I don't like Twitter. It stresses me out. I love Twitter. It's like the least stressful social network for me, but that's me, and that's also me at the level of visibility I'm at right now. Maybe someday we'll reach a point where I'm more visible than I am now, and Twitter's going to become a lot more hostile for me because people will be aware that I exist. Whereas now I kind of am, in my little community, and awful people who come bother me are infrequent enough that they're pretty easy to deal with. But like, it's just so if like you're not feeling Twitter that much, like, I mean, you're on there. You have accounts for yourself. You have accounts for Axe Wound and Women in Horror Month. And it seems like when you've got something going on, you are on there sharing the information and et cetera. So.
Yeah, but I should be doing it every day, and that's something I don't do. And Ashley and I actually talked about that recently, and she when it gets closer to the festival, she will help me a lot of the times. Like, she'll take over the account for a few days, and
Okay.
so, but she's really helpful. She has all the logins for all the accounts, so sometimes I'll be like, can you go on Women in Horror Month and tweet something? you know so Ashley's amazing, and I definitely think that I do a disservice to women's work and showcasing it by not posting. And so that's something that I really, now, especially now that I have this brand new computer, I'm going to try to, one of my goals this year is really trying to just, even if it's just one day more than normal, like just really trying to keep things up to date, because there's a lot of things going on, and I want to be able to, promote them more than I do rather.
I mean, I'm sure you're already on top of this, so it's kind of a waste of breath, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I'm sure you're on this, but the more you can just schedule stuff in advance like that, like if you've got stuff you want to go out, like I mean, this is what I do is I just take time to like sit down, queue up a bunch of stuff that I know I want going out over the next week or the next month or whatever it is, so that then I don't have to be like on Twitter every day throughout the day, and I know that I've got content going out that's the stuff that I want people to know about. And for my mental health, like that's a big pressure relief.
I should do that more than I do, because there's no reason not to. I think with Hootsuite though, sometimes I think like, so I'm posting it, it's scheduled, but then if I'm not there, are people thinking I'm rude if they like respond to something and I didn't see it and didn't, sign in to write back, and then I just start going in this like black hole of like, what if this happened? It's like,
oh, no. I relate to everything you're saying.
Absolutely, but it's also like people understand, like, even if you did post it right then, you might not respond to people for a couple hours. And it's better to respond when you're ready to respond and when you're comfortable and when you can actually engage with people than to feel like you have to do it. I mean, I think that's a thing that we talk about a lot is like, it's better to go in and do it when you feel good about it.
I completely agree. And I know what you're saying, Hannah. Like this just happened to me like yesterday. Cause I, like you, I have multiple different Twitter accounts for different projects, and I'm not necessarily logging into every single one of them every day and checking my mentions and checking my DMs. And so then sometimes I do, and I'm like, oh my God, somebody sent me a really nice thing 5 days ago and I didn't see it till now. But if they're saying that bitch Nicole, she's so stuck up and thinks she's better than me because she took 5 days to send a really nice reply, then that's that person's problem. And like there's only so much you can do, and there is so much anxiety to be stoked on social media that whatever you can do to not have to just withdraw completely, I think is a good thing.
Oh, that's true. I should start using Hootsuite more. I think I've had such bad, with Women in Horror Month and all the years of it, I can definitely say this past year, believe it or not, we had the fewest trolls But before that, it's like I was, signing into social media and having people like saying such terrible things to me. And like, you know, one person in particular, like I really was actually scared of this guy and like like thought he was gonna like hunt me down or something. And like I think that after a while, like it just started to like take this toll of like being trolled because I am a woman who like talks about these issues of horror and inclusivity and stuff. And so I think it's just having to get to this place where I can say, okay, if I'm posting for Women in Horror Month, that's not Hannah posting. I'm just posting on behalf, just like with 4 Mile Circus, just posting 4 Mile Circus. It's not like I have to be really personal and but you kind of want to, I don't know. It's complicated.
That's a really interesting point that you raise because like you do on social media, even if you're posting on behalf of a broader umbrella or project, you still want it to have that personal
feel.
Yeah, but how do you separate yourself so that you're not absorbing this abuse like a sponge, and you're like, this isn't about me. This is about this person and their issues, and there's something called Women in Horror Month, and they're a misogynistic asshat. So, of course, they have to, like, throw feces like a monkey or whatever. And that's them, and that's on them, and it's got nothing to do with me. But how do you keep that, like, personal community thing and have those boundaries at the same time? And I think it looks different for everybody, I guess. I'm also curious, without going into it, is the person you're mentioning a person you told me about like maybe a year ago or something? You said something, we like PM'd about it on Facebook.
Honestly, I don't remember.
Because I looked that guy up and I was like, holy shit, I'm really glad that.
It probably is. Does he look terrifying?
Yes. And he obviously has a lot of time on his hands to obsess about women who he feels, I don't know, owe him something, I guess.
Yeah, he scares me.
I don't blame you.
And that actually, yeah. So, and he, what's scary about people like that is when you're up to the 8th year and they're still there. They're still following. They're still keeping an eye. And it's like, that's just really disturbing. And I think that, I think with social media, to bring it back to that, it's like, I think it's so, as you said, dependent on what your goal is, because when you're doing anything that's activist-y and relating to women and or any group, marginalized group, it's like, you really are going to have to face these other challenges that maybe someone with like a record company isn't going to get faced with on a regular basis. And for me, I know that I got kicked out of Facebook for months at a time because of trolls reporting my account and not being able to defend myself. And it's really hard to have this movement as people start trying to shut you down. And kind of after a while, a lot of people might say, well, I just not doing this anymore. And luckily I somehow am driven where it's like, no, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. But that's not easy. And that really, it's not something that everyone can really do.
No, it takes a huge toll. And I wish that you were the only person, the only woman, it's mostly women, not exclusively, but woman I know who deals with exactly this kind of shit of like getting locked out of your social media accounts because a bunch of trolls did an organized harassment campaign against you and all reported your account as, containing some shit it didn't contain, which I've heard that story many times. And it's hard because like something like Women in Horror Month specifically exists on social media to such a large degree. And your other projects also, social media might not be where they live quite as much, but it's still a crucial component. But, people like you or me and Sean or any of our friends who are all like using these platforms who are keeping these platforms alive and vibrant. And it's hard when those platforms aren't then taking the abuse you get on them seriously and working with you to solve this problem.
And I have so this is making me think about something that this may be, this is related, but it might be too much of a tangent. And if it is, you can stop me, because I think it's interesting because this is horror.
Okay.
And it's a genre thing, and it's sort of a it seems like, so there's spaces like horror, like comics, like sci-fi, like programming that are like traditionally viewed as, but not in reality, not, but traditionally viewed as like lonely boy nerd, like regions, like where that's where they like get to have their own space. And what's happened is, and you know, this is me identifying as a lonely boy nerd whose main friend, as like until I was like in high school, was Star Trek: The Next Generation. That there's like this specific hostility that is like guys that you're describing, obsessive hostility, and it comes up most on social media in those regions specifically. Not that they're exclusive to these regions, but because it's like these guys who thought that
this is my space.
Exactly. It's like, and
I get to define what horror is and what's good and what's not, and how can anybody else participate, let alone some lady?
Exactly. And it's the same thing in any of the other genres. And I think it's very sad because it's like people who felt rejected then rejecting people because they felt rejected before.
I don't know. One of the ones you didn't mention, which, there's tons of them, but a big one that comes to mind is the gaming.
Oh, yeah.
Gaming, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to just quick tangent, as somebody who has recently become like a super gamer, I have this little part of me that's like, I need to do something on that end because they are like so far behind. And then, they have the Gamergate thing that happened. And so, but the point is, it's like, I mean, I'll play video games where it's like you put your name in, it says Hannah, but then it assumes you're a guy. So it's like, Hannah, how is he? And you're like, so, I think that, and that actually, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think like with Women in Horror Month too, it's like my hope was always that, yeah, we're focused on horror, but maybe somebody will then say, what if we take this and apply it to another thing like gaming or like a domino effect, and sort of across the board. So, and social media just gives you that ability right now, and as opposed to like even when I started Axe Wound and I didn't have that. So I think people have more power than they realize sometimes. But then, as you said, you also are limited by the platform, and it just takes one bad incident to kind of shut you down.
Yeah, because I'm very aware that I have enough anxiety as I do about social media. And if I was in a position where I was getting that kind of abuse and getting people just paying that much attention to me and starting to follow me, like starting to hate follow me and being like, oh, what's she up to? I don't know how that might change what my life looks like in terms of using social media, in terms of how I have to use it professionally for a number of different purposes, not just 4 Mile Circus even, but it's very central to 4 Mile Circus. But I don't know if I could, because I don't know if it would be worth it to me, because the bit of that I've dealt with, which has mostly been when I've been using social media for political activism specifically, which has been less of the focus for me in recent years. It's been more about promoting work, which has political content to it for sure, but it's not like, hey, I'm helping to organize actual protests and things and then trying to get media attention around and that sort of thing. Because that's when I was getting like death threats and like just awful violent shit, And yeah, and it's scary and you get that adrenaline rush. And for me, it takes a long time for those like stress hormones to dissipate. And so I'm in that agitated state for a long time. And then if you keep getting more abuse, like it never goes away. And you're just always in this like agitated, alert, stress state as if you're being attacked. And that's not
I feel like you're like totally nailing it right now and how I feel. It's like,
what's that?
You're just totally nailing it because it's there are so many times in my life that I think, why am I still on the computer? How am I still here? But it's, I think that there's now, unlike in the past, I will say, and it sucks, but it's like, I feel afraid sometimes to be to be an activist, or I'm afraid to speak up these days because I'm scared of, you know, I mean, I do it, but there's times when I have this pause of like, who's gonna see this if I use this hashtag, or who's gonna find me and send me another letter that I'm a cunt, And it's like, when you struggle with mental health issues, it's like, that's the last thing you need on top of it. But well, I think for me, it's kind of like, you know what? This is what is important to me, and you can threaten me all you want. I'm still going to do it, but it does impact me. And I would be lying if I said it didn't. How does it not? We're human.
Yeah, of course. Of course. It's, yeah, we're human. That's what happens. And that's why they do it, because they know it hurts. That's why people hit you.
Exactly, exactly. And I actually have a pin. I don't know if did I ever give you the Untamed Bleeding Cunt pin?
No.
I had these pins made because there is a not Wikipedia, some other pedia, and they wrote a whole thing about me and how I'm an untamed bleeding cunt with a social justice fortress, and how I live in my mom's basement and my life is pathetic. And so
Wait. Now that title sounds great.
yeah, so I got pins made saying untamed bleeding cunt because I thought it was awesome.
That's because it is.
Yeah, that sounds like something that should be like the subtitle to like a Frank Frazetta painting, like on the side of a van. The coolest thing ever.
That's what I'm saying. Like a social justice fortress. I would love that.
Yeah. Can I come in? I want to come to your social justice fortress. That sounds fucking great. We need we need a lot of social justice fortresses right now, actually.
I'm just imagining the painting in my head.
It's just odd it's odd to me that somebody took the time to write something about me that was so mean and just lives on the internet. And I find it, thank God, I find humor in it. But it just blows my mind that I'm just this person in my house, this nobody person going through my day, and you really took the time to write that? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I know. It's like, my attitude is, if I think somebody's terrible, I don't want them in my life. So I try to ignore them and not spend time on them. But some people, if they've got a problem with somebody, it's like a magnet, and they just like it's an obsessive thing, it's an abusive thing, it's an unhealthy thing for everybody involved. But that's what some people are going to do, which kind of leads me to kind of a two-pronged thing I was thinking about, which I wanted to ask you about, how you see or hope to see your social media use changing moving forward. And I'm curious, to bring it back to last episode, I know you were saying you're kind of see zines, like paper zines, making a comeback, and I'm wondering if that relates at all to any of the stuff that we're talking about. So that's just a bunch of stuff I just raised, and I'll let you turn it into a question, I guess, because it wasn't really a question.
I totally feel that um we're in a place right now where we've never been before, obviously, and the amount of intense fear around speaking out because of retaliation, whether it's people in your life or the government or whatever, it's like now's the time when people really, I think, are going to take to their own media. It's like creating their own media more, and zines as a way to like really underground, maybe I'm trying to think of the right word, to basically during times I think when things are really politically intense, and now more than ever in this country, that's when these more art comes out, more poetry, more creativity. But also I think zines are going to be seeing a rise because of that. It's like a safe place maybe to the internet. You put a blog post up and we're talking about trolls and they this and that. It's like, I think when you're writing a zine and you start there and you're in your community, the risk is lower at first. I think it's safer.
Yeah, especially like these days when we're talking about like, people looking at your social media accounts when you're crossing the border, things like that, or, your job or the government itself actually sometimes giving a shit and following you online, that if you're offline, you're a little bit off the radar potentially. If you're doing zines, that's different from like a print book that was published by, Simon and Schuster or HarperCollins or whatever. But if you're just doing it in your own room, maybe not putting your real last name on it, I mean, I will.
That's why I go by Neurotica, which Facebook fucked me on. because I purposefully chose to be Hannah Neurotica, not because I was like, oh, that's cool, but because of safety reasons.
Yep.
And then Facebook says, yeah, no, you have to be Hannah Foreman, sorry. And it's like, okay, what do I decide now? You know, people, so many times I post, I think people don't even know it's me. But that really just had to say that, because that's another thing about social sites not protecting their people.
Oh, absolutely.
Ugh, that drives me nuts. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. And it's funny with that one because we've talked to a number of people on the show about the real name, legal name issue on Facebook specifically. And we had a guest a while ago, I think it was Jocelyn Linder, who was saying like, oh, I feel safer on Facebook because people have to use their real names so they can't like hide behind a pseudonym and somebody you don't even know who they are is like attacking you. And I'm like, that's interesting. And that's true. And that's a valid point. But there's also this other side of it of a whole lot of people were made a lot less safe when Facebook instituted that, because like a lot of people aren't on Facebook under their real name, either because, or not even real name, but legal name, let's say, either because they have a stage name they perform under, or maybe what their legal name is isn't what they live under. Maybe it's because they're trans. Maybe it's because
they don't want their family to find them.
Exactly. And they just like, I don't even, and it's funny because Facebook has missed some people, because there are some people on Facebook who are not under their real names. And I won't say any, that there are people who for one reason or another didn't get caught up, they didn't notice, because it's not perfect like that, which is all the more reason why it's like, just fucking, come on. I would get if they said, even if you're not going to use your legal name, like explain why or something, maybe.
Instead, they say, show us your ID.
That's so creepy.
And it's like, really? I have to give you my ID to get back in Facebook, where if I don't get back into Facebook, guess what? I lose Women in Horror Month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that scares me more, which thank God now I've like have someone that I added as an emergency like backup.
Good.
Yeah, but they really, I think that there needs to be, I know now they're all on like Facebook tackling fake news and all that, but I think paying attention to the people on the network, no matter it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and their safety and their perspective and their lifestyle. I mean, I feel like there's this disconnect between the people that own it and those who use it. And there's just so much ways we could be making people safer, and it's just not.
Absolutely. And I think you're right that it's a matter of priorities and where you're going to put the manpower, because like, I get that you can't automate these things, because when you do, it all goes to hell. And we've talked a little bit today about some of the ways that happens. Because if it's, a lot of these platforms have a thing where if a certain account or a certain post is reported a certain number of times, it's automatically going to be temporarily suspended. Yeah. And that gets abused all the time. And by the same token, I have personally reported any number of accounts and posts for making violent threats against people I know, for example, and reported it and then gotten a message back being like, we have reviewed the content in question and found that it does not violate the like.
Yeah, I hate that shit. I hate that.
I have a positive story about that, where recently I got a notification from Twitter that somebody who I reported for posting violent content, who had actually posted like some vaguely threatening things on Twitter, did get like kicked off.
Great.
Hopefully they're getting better about that stuff, but hopefully. I mean, I've heard more stories about it not happening than it happening, so.
I mean, I would love to have an alternative to any of these platforms, but the only way they're useful is if people are there, and if people are on Twitter, you got to go to Twitter. Like, I mean, LO didn't quite take off.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's our like LO reference of the episode. I think we have to mention LO on every episode.
I was on LO for a minute.
Me too. For a minute.
And I still get sometimes emails that say you have a notification on LO, and I'm like, what? How do I still get that? They still exist?
I get.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean.
I was just gonna say I think I have a theory that I haven't tested about why LO isn't popular. Porn didn't navigate there.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't become like a place to find people in porn or pornography itself.
Can you find a lot of that on Facebook?
Yeah.
Well, your mom's on Facebook, which is not the same thing, but like
Your family.
your family. So that's
Tumblr. You can find all of the
Tumblr
other.
is like 90% porn now.
Yeah. No, Tumblr is just straight up porn.
Yeah.
Like and not even in like the way it used to be. Now it's just all like fake link things that start following me. They're like, here's a thing. I'm like, oh god, it's another porn blog. Oh no, it's just fake links that want me to click through. It's not even like just legitimately a pervert.
It's
And that
the
makes me
circle
sad.
of life. It's the circle of social media life.
Porn always just takes over. That's the way life is. Porn just always comes.
It's a harbinger of like what the next things are going to be, and I guess what's going to sink and what's going to float.
You know, just to back to like the platform thing though you were saying, I just thought one of the things I launched, it didn't take off at all, and I haven't pushed it, so it's not like, you know, I've mentioned it very much online, but I did start a message board on the Women in Horror Month site, and I think I got scared briefly to like promote it because my first thought was, oh great, this is going to be awesome, and then all the trolls are going to show up. Should I even mention this? And then it's like, then I don't know. I felt like, you know, message boards went out of date when social media was big, but now we're at a point where maybe they're safer.
Yeah.
I don't know. If people are, you know, who are listening to this are interested, you know, I did start this message board. It hasn't really taken off, but if people want to help, like want to post there or put call for submissions for their events or advertise for their podcast, like it's there, and we'll see. Maybe this year it can become active somehow. See.
I believe I think maybe you need to get an account, and I did that because I remember when it started and I was like, oh, I have to get set up for this, and then I forgot about it. So
but you know what? It's hard even if you were set up when no one's posting. It's
yeah.
How do you get it going, you know?
There were like 2 posts, I think, when I checked it, and I was like, cool, I'll check back, and I haven't. But I am going to check back, and I will make a point to have that be one of the places where when I'm making the rounds, you know, like I'll be sure to hit up there, and hopefully if there's other people there, then we can start talking. So everybody listening.
No, there isn't. So if you want to, I'll be there, and we can see if slowly people will go there.
Nicole and I'll start an argument on there.
Yeah.
We'll pick something that I disagree with her
start some drama.
So come watch the huge high stakes drama between me and Sean arguing about.
Is it called a flame war? I never got into message boards.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? We'll have a flame war between me and Nicole.
I'm gonna get the mods on you.
Oh
Perfect.
yeah.
Get one of us banned, and then
see, I only know stuff about message boards from having to check them when I'm looking for answers to things because they're useful for people answering questions, but I never post to them.
So we can ask and answer some questions on the Women Horror Month message board. It'll be great.
And honestly, if one of the sections there is like, you know, are you looking for exposure, you know? And it's like, then maybe people that are looking for guests for events or for podcasts or blogs can look at the thread of people looking for exposure. And I'm just hoping it can kind of bring people that are the noise of social media. For some people, maybe it'll just be a little quieter and get to the heart of the matter for specific things.
Absolutely. I think we could all do with a little less noise in our noise to content ratio, basically.
But as you said, you know, this day and age, whether you work in marketing or not, you have to be on social media. I mean, for many reasons, some of the time. And so it's just the balance, and it's how do you navigate it while keeping your health and sanity, but also doing your job. And so it's a really interesting topic, actually. And I definitely am always trying different tricks to like, you know, turning off my notifications so I can't see them and those kind of things. So
that's a good one. And yeah, and I'm sure this is an ongoing conversation that we will talk about more in the future because social media is not going away, much as it may evolve and change. And I'm excited about this message board thing though, because I think you may be on to something, and that could be a really useful hub for a lot of people.
This has been a very retro episode.
I think that retro is coming back in a different way. Like because retro's always in, but like I think that in a real serious way, forms of communication that seem outdated are what we need right now because they're to the point. They're they're not. There's no. It's not as much bullshit. There's no ads. It's like, this is what we need, this is why we're here, this is what we're doing. And social media has its place for other stuff, but not for everything. Like, if I hosting a film festival, maybe I just want to go to a message board where women filmmakers are and say, hey, check this out. So I think that having these quieter, non-corporate owned spaces are important right now if we can get people to them.
I cannot I could not agree more. And hopefully our listeners will go to space. Maybe we should start a message board?
Also.
Maybe.
That like links in. I can set that up.
We can talk about that.
We can talk about that later.
Okay, so so everything old is new again. I could not agree more. Late Cambrian, who was our last interview, we're talking about putting out an album on cassettes. I've been trying to listen to music on vinyl recently because I like objects and things that are not constantly connected to the internet, and we don't always all need to be connected to one another. So on that note...
Let's play a game.
Yeah, let's play a game.
You guys ready for trivia? Are you guys ready for Elias Koteas trivia? Do you know who I'm talking about?
That actor?
The actor Elias Koteas. You can look him up if you like. I have a thing.
Know who he is to do this trivia?
I barely know who he is, so I don't think so. I think
you can guess.
He was in the Thin Red Line, right?
Probably. He's been in a lot of stuff. I have a thing that I like to say, which is everything is better with Elias Koteas. So a crappy movie is moderately more watchable, and a good movie is much better. He's a balding, like, middle-aged dude. Even when he was in his 20s, he looked like a middle-aged dude.
If I saw him, I would know who he was, I'm sure.
You totally would. He kind of looks like Christopher Maloney, but short and small.
I don't know who that is either.
The guy from Special Victims Unit. The main cop
you'd have to
guy.
talk to other Sean about that.
Okay, well. All right, so Elias Koteas trivia. The first question is, which character did Elias Koteas play in the original Ninja Turtles movie? Was it A, Leonardo, B, Splinter, C, Jeff Kober, or D, Casey Jones?
Considering I can't even picture who this guy is, but this movie is this like one of the old Ninja Turtle movies, or?
Yeah, this is the first one from 89.
89. What was the first option?
90. It was either Leonardo, Splinter, Jeff Kober. You're going to say Splinter, or the last one is Casey Jones.
I'm going to go with the third one. Jeff
Kober?
Jeff Kober, sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. The correct answer is D, Casey Jones, the hockey stick wielding, hockey mask wearing vigilante. Jeff Kober is another fine actor who I enjoy, who played in Tank Girl. He plays Goober, Tank Girl's boyfriend.
Shockingly, this isn't going over quite as well as women in horror trivia.
I'm like, it's funny when you don't even know who the person is that you're answering questions about. It's great.
So the second question in Elias Koteas trivia is, where is Elias Koteas from? Is it A, Pittsburgh, B, Montreal, C, Athens, or D, over there?
Athens.
I was going to pick Athens, too.
You were going to pick Athens?
Why not?
I'm sorry. The correct answer is Montreal.
Oh.
Well, his last name sounded maybe like it could have been Greek.
He is Greek.
Oh,
He's
so
very smart.
We kind of got it right.
Exactly. That's why I put it in there, just to be confusing. These games are not fair.
I was thinking Athens, Georgia.
Oh, you're thinking Athens, Georgia, not Athens, Greece.
I should have thought Athens, Greece, because we were not limited to the United States, because there was Montreal.
Because there was Montreal.
Anyway, let's continue with the Elias Koteas trivia.
What David Cronenberg film is Elias Koteas a co-star of? Is it A,
I wish I knew what he looked like.
Dead Ringers, B, Shivers, C, On Golden Pond, or D, Crash?
Crash.
I'm going to have to say, I guess, the other ones I can't pick. I guess Crash.
The correct answer is Crash. He is the leader of the people who fetishize crashing. Yeah, he's the guy with all the scars on him.
I was just doing it by time. I was like, It's got to be Crash because of when it came out and because I watched Dead Ringers recently and didn't remember him in it.
Freaking love that movie.
It's so good, and he's so creepy in that movie. He's sort of the villain in Crash, the one who's obsessed with James Spader.
So nobody won.
Yeah, that was we totally lost that one.
That's
a
okay.
lesson, right?
Because I feel like the listeners won because they got to learn more about Elias Koteas.
And I did too, to be honest.
And so did I.
We all learned something today.
Great. Okay. Well, on that odd note, Hannah, where can our listeners find you online to discuss Elias Koteas or other topics?
Find me online on Facebook. It's Hannah Foreman, but Facebook, Instagram, Hannah Neurotica. On Twitter, I am actually Neurotica Media. I have been banned from my Hannah Neurotica account, speaking of social media, so I am Neurotica Media. And I will soon have my website up, which is hannahisneurotica.com, but you can always find me through Women in Horror Month and Axewound Film Festival.
Awesome. Can't wait. And you can find us at the Axewound Film Festival in November, so listeners should do that. And
don't hug us.
Well, don't hug Sean. Unless,
I'm just saying, I don't think you want strangers just walking up and hug. At least introduce yourself first.
Sure. Great. Introduce yourself. Maybe we'll hug. And we are, I'm Nicole, and you're Sean.
And we're 4 Mile Circus.
Sorry, I interrupted you guys when you were doing your ending.
Oh no, don't be sorry about anything. And this has been a great episode of the 4 Mile Circus. I'm a little punchy.
4milecircus.com, 4 Mile Circus on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And soon I'm sure there will be an Elias Koteas message board that you can find on 4 Mile Circus.
Yeah. Okay. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your platform of choice. Please visit us at 4milecircus.com to learn about our other projects and services, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 4 Mile Circus.